Can you share with us about what it is that your organizations do, since we're talking about progress, and it sounds like your organizations are implementing a lot of progress in our city. Tell us about it.
Mine's not really an organization. Mine started with just, it started from the uprising. I went out as a concerned citizen because I felt as an artist, I have to reflect the times. I was obligated to do that, to use my God-given talent to, to document that and tell a true story because I knew media couldn't. And I just remember, sitting talking to my mother like, I gotta, these kids, I have to figure something. So photography saved my life. Like, I would literally be dead if it wasn't for photography. I lost both my best friends, and both times I was supposed to be with them, I was doing photography. And I just wonder how many other kids are in that situation that I can get them out of. So I just made a GoFundMe. It was like, hey, I want to teach inner city kids photography and inspire the youth. And I got good feedback. I got even the guy who created GoFundMe donated $1,000 to it, and it was just going good. And then I got a phone call from DeRay. We had a long conversation about the uprising, and then he's like, oh yeah, I called you. Russell Simmons is looking for you. And I was like, we just had a whole conversation, and you wait to the end to tell me that Russell Simmons is looking for me. But he was like, look, this is Michael Skolnick's number. Give him a call. I think they might have something for you. So I'm like, what did they have? He's like, I don't know. They was looking for you. So I gave him a call, and I said, so we talked for a while, and I just told him my idea, what I wanted to do. I didn't really have a plan. I said, look, I'm just going to buy cameras, give them to the kids, let them shoot, do an art show, let them sell the work, and I'm just going to just run with that. And he was like, all right, cool, I love it. How much you need? So I was just like, all right, cool. I chopped everything up. And I was like, oh, look, I need $20,000. So like the whole time I'm adding it up. I'm like sweating. Like he about to say, boy, if you don't go ahead, I'm not gonna give you. But he gave it to me, and then, he gave me one of them big checks, and I got like a little hatchback, so I'm riding down the street, riding through the hood with a big check hanging out the back of my car. So then, so what I did, I just literally went to Service Photo in Hampden, bought some Canons, bought some Nikons, threw them in my trunk, went down to Safe Zone. Then I was telling him like, yeah, I'm Devin Allen, I got a time cover. So he looking at me like, what? Who are you? You trying to do what? And I said, all right, well, Rihanna posted this, Beyonce posted that, and this is what I do. They say, for real, you lying? So I showed it to them, and then they would just automatically capture it. And then I've been with them kids for like almost going on a year now. I actually started working with a city school off of Garrison, where I used to hang out, where I went to high school at. We knocked out our first art show. We just knocked out another one at the Impact Hub, which was amazing. We've had Kevin Davis, he came to both art shows. So that was amazing. So now I just, I ran out of funding because I should have asked for more money. I didn't price it right. It's a learning experience, but it got to the point where I was selling my own equipment. I got 100K followers on Twitter. 100K on Instagram, like 14K on Twitter. I'm just gonna start taking donations. So now people send me cameras from all over the world, and as soon as a kid say, Devin, I want a camera here. I want to see some pictures. Just bring the camera back. I want to see those pictures. So it's been to the point I done gave out like 50 cameras. I received 17 cameras at the Impact Hub, and I say, well, just come shoot with me. See you later, and we just build that connection.
We serve folks, adults age 18 and above, throughout Baltimore City. Important for us to make connections is not to sit back and wait for our doors to open and wait for people to come in. The most motivated people will come in, but I say this very affectionately, I love knuckleheads, right? I'm a recovering knucklehead, right? And don't need to go into the detail, right? I love sending my team out, and I go out with them from time to time, going to Park Heights, Cherry Hill, East Baltimore, not Roland Park, not the neighborhoods where people have an existing support system, but where people are least likely to be able to get connected on their own. Sometimes, because psychologically, they don't even believe that they belong because they've been disconnected for so long, right? And the one element of what we do I'd like to share and as a microcosm of the larger body of work in terms of economics, family stability and economic success, we have a fatherhood program, right? These are adults age 18 and above who have children. And you talk about these spaces to give people voices. So we have a dedicated space. We'll have 25 to 35 African-American fathers in the room, almost to a man, who have had no relationship with their own fathers. And that experience is painful, and when we give them the opportunity to let it out, you have adult men crying and hugging one another over that pain, over that absence, over that sense of abandonment. But they're also fathers, and they're responsible for their own children. So we're really trying to work to make sure that they have the capacity to parent from a male perspective and give them the voice, the platform to be able to grow into who they want to be, but also to help them to think about, if you're going to be in this country, you're going to be a dad, you live in a capitalistic society, you got to work, right? And there's a lot of excuses and a lot of reasons why we've been disconnected and we live in certain communities that the opportunities don't exist. But we can challenge ourselves and we can try to make connections to get people to move forward. And so when you think about giving people that space, that opportunity, and supporting them to grow, we want to be able to replicate that in ways in which, we can make our city proud, and that we are no longer considered, visually, when you go to the airport. I'm sure many people in here, if you travel, as soon as you say you're from Baltimore, the one thing people say to you, it. Right? We want to change that narrative, and I think collectively, the folks on the stage and others in the audience who are doing great indigenous work, we're changing the narrative in terms of how people view our city.
There is no history for us to point to here in the Upton area to say and be proud of the heritage that was that area. So one of the things that I've been doing is working with a group to try to bring back that pride. There are more historic points in that area than any other African American community in the country. It is one of the oldest continuous African American communities. And the fact that there's very little known about that now, I think is just such a disservice, because the children who now live there, even the adults who now live there, don't know the ground they're walking on. They don't know who has tread in that community before them, because it's been erased. It's been systematically and on purpose erased. So unless you know your history, what do you have pride in? And so the other initiative that I had, I'm currently serving as AIA Maryland's president. Prior to that, I served as AIA Baltimore's president. In my initial speech, once I took office, I talked about going back into the city and providing examples of what you can be. This is what I spoke to the architects that were in the room. Go back to the city, go into the schools, talk to the students, because there are so many students who can't pronounce architect, much less understand what it is that we do. And just to give a couple of figures, there are only a little more than 300 African American women licensed in this country. And that number has only grown just marginally over the last 10 years. You can't be what you can't see.
If people are really serious about the future of Baltimore City youth, Baltimore is 63% Black, so the youth that I serve are just that and more. And you look at the schools that they go to, you look at some of the issues that they have to deal with. When they come to Muse 360, they don't have to think about that. I don't make them feel like, oh, you come from this neighborhood or you're that. My expectations are through the roof. My mom always told me that a part of my success, 1/3 is me, 1/3 is the organization, and another third is her. And she reminded me of that a couple of years ago as I'm trying to get my parents involved. And my parents are awesome, and my young people are awesome, but the reality is we need people to pay attention. We need people to say, you know what, okay, that organization may not have capacity, they may not have the best board, they may not have a lot of funding, but let's see how we can bridge the gap, because there's a gap. And a lot of the organizations even that was mentioned, there's a lot of underground organizations that have raised up some amazing, Baltimoreans, arena players, UB Blake, Woundwork Productions, If you've never heard of those places, if you've never visited UB Blake Center, it's like 2 blocks from here. That's not good. So there has to be a bridge. You have to be, if you care, it's not just about the uprising. It's not just about, all these special initiatives. It's if you care about the future of Baltimore, if you care about the legacy, the history of Baltimore, then you would make an effort to bridge that gap and really find out what people need. every school, I think, should have a study abroad program. Less than 5% of African American youth travel abroad in high school. And even when they get to 25, less than 5%. And so what happens when they're able to travel outside Baltimore City, let alone the United States? Their life changes.
Okay, now Sharayna and Devin, both of you work with the youth, and you work to help give youth in the city their own voices so they can bring about change. What have you learned from the young people that you engage with?
I learned a lot. They really inspired me to, do what I do. Because at the end of the day, when the uprising, I was on the ground for 3 weeks. And I saw these kids from ages from 7 to 18 just fearless, riding their bikes in between police officers. And then I seen a certain type of sadness in their eyes when they couldn't walk down North Avenue. And I'm seeing all these kids with so much power, and I'm like, I wonder if I give them a camera, could they do what I did? So I didn't know how I was gonna do it. I just was like, all right, I'm gonna just figure out how to get these kids cameras, and I did. And I just learned, they really inspire me with my art to continue to grow, and, be free and not be worried about people who judge my work or what I do or how I do my work. They remind me to be fearless and free, because that's what they are.
I think one of the first things that I noticed when we started holding public hearings is that people are really desperate to be recognized. People want to be seen, people want to be heard, and they really need a space in the city or several spaces in the city where their presence can be recognized. And that's on both sides or all sides of the argument. And I think that's where a lot of conflict begins, is when people are just ignored. Their presence is devalued or diminished, whether you're a kid on North Avenue or you're a teacher at a private school somewhere. We all need to be recognized. And then after that, we need to have a voice. People really needed a voice and appreciated having a voice. There's such powerlessness when you don't have a voice. And more importantly, even when you speak up, your voice is not heard. A few ideas had come up during the hearings and even in discussions informally, just finding ways that we can keep the conversation going. It's just not about visual culture or interpreting what you see, because the monuments are really just a metaphor, and in many ways that's what art always is. Art is always a metaphor for many things. I think the important thing that came out of that was, how do we create a forum where people can talk about a lot of these issues that have been sort of like boiling to the point that they become a powder keg, right? So it's not just the Confederate monuments, it's the unrest that was happening, the rebellion that was happening in Baltimore and in other places. It's the rebellion that's happening in people's homes or in schools. What are we not hearing? And what platform are we not providing so that people can feel safe to say, this is who I am, recognize me, value me, and let's work together to create something.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Jared Bay from Baltimore Urban Debate League, also a Black youth activist. I believe that Baltimore should not only just be peaceful, but it should be a mindset change within all of us. Like, society has posed that all youngsters or peers our age are all radical, violent. But it becomes like what Devin was saying, as far as saying that we are intelligent. We can actually make a physical change, like a social, political, economic change within ourselves. So Baltimore Urban Debate League has helped me with that, but it has also helped me to articulate myself so that I know how to talk to an audience like this. But peers my age don't have that ability. So the change in Baltimore is a mindset change within ourselves to affect our youth. So all I'm asking for is basically people that are elders or the older generation to believe in the youth and not just see us as radicals towards society. Thank you.
All right.
I just want to add something to him. These kids are amazing, but you don't hear about them in the news. You don't hear about them and the things that they go through, and that's sad. But even in organizations and in our own community, our culture it's poison. They poison our culture, and our culture poison our kids if it's the rap music or whatever. You know, when I go to events and a lot of youth events, these kids should be speaking, but instead we glorify, you know, there's nothing wrong with rap music and rap about what you live and what you've done. But at the end of the day, when you're doing a youth rally and you're trying to bring peace and change, you can't have a rapper speaking about killing somebody and selling drugs. You know, and that's what happened at a lot of these youth events. You know, that's why I stopped going to them. You know, because at the end of the day, these are the kids that need to touch other kids instead of glorifying the negativity within our community that's been plaguing us for so long. If they're not poisoning our water, they're poisoning our culture, mentally, physically. There is so many different, you know, ways they're coming at us every day. You know, I was subjected to the end lost within that myself. It's very hard to break away, and I just want to say that I'm proud of them. And you know, they need support. They need a bigger platform.
It is like a struggle to get people to recognize positivity, especially amongst youth. It doesn't make any sense. I think I was saying to one of my peers, you know, I was like, wow, you know, I've taken youth, black youth, out of the country for since 2009. I call Baltimore Sun, I call Baltimore Magazine, and it's like, oh, we'll try to get to you, we'll try to get to you. I don't have that level of celebrity, but what I will say is these young people should be enough. And I just want to shout out Good News Baltimore for giving you know, us an opportunity to talk, and for even trying to allow young people to speak and hearing them, because it's just really important. And hopefully, if there's anybody out here that's from the media or has contact, you need to make them accountable, hold them accountable, and let them know, listen, there's organizations, there's people you need to talk to, there's youth that are doing positive things, because just like we're talking about you can't be what you can't see, if other youth saw positivity amongst their peers, how powerful would that be? So I just wanted to, you know,
Absolutely.
recognize that.
Would you all agree that this has been a wonderful discussion tonight? I want to thank our partners, the Walters Art Museum. I want to thank Open Society Institute Baltimore for all of your support. And I want to encourage everyone out here to reach out to folks on the panel, continue the discussions, not just here in your communities, in your churches, in your homes, but don't let it stop here. The progress has to continue.